how can I possibly connect with other people's spirits or spirit without connecting with my own?
Before we begin, I want to share why we've actually invited Sonia onto the podcast. At the Art of Beautiful Thinking, we believe personal growth can take many forms. There is actually no single pathway back to the self. And for some people, it begins through self-awareness, coaching, reflection, or emotional healing. But for others, it can actually open through intuition, energy work, spiritual connection, or a deeper sense of inner knowing. What actually really matters is that the pathway brings you or any of us closer to clarity, self-trust, and our authentic selves. In today's conversation, it's an opportunity for us to actually explore one of those pathways, the intuitive and spiritual pathway, and how it can support people to reconnect with themselves and their inner wisdom and the guidance that's actually available to them. So I'm actually really excited to introduce Sonia to our show. Sonia is an intuitive guide, a psychic medium, and an energy healing practitioner based in Perth in Australia, and the founder of Angelic Pathway. So through psychic mediumship readings, angelic Reiki, and soul pathway guidance, Sonia helps people reconnect with clarity, inner wisdom, and spiritual guidance. Her connection to the metaphysical began really early, growing up in a creative and spiritually open home. And Sonia was introduced to spirit guides, the spiritualist church, astrology, tarot, and the healing arts from a very young age. And over time, her intuition actually deepened, but it was after the passing of her father that mediumship became a more profound calling. Through specific messages she received from him, Sonia began to understand that this path was not simply an interest, but a part of her soul's work. Now, coming forward to today, Sonia supports others to understand their own unique soul pathway with gentleness, insight, and the guidance of spirit. So welcome, Sonia, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Yvette. Very happy to be here, and thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Pleasure.
Feels very, very grounded.
Thank you. So look, before we actually move into your work, I thought it'd be really good for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. And if you could share possibly a bit about how this path opened up for you. I mean, I'm curious. Let's go.
Well, it's been an evolving process, I would need to say, in how this pathway opened and developed and unfolded. And it really comes from a childhood, like you were saying in the introduction, of creativity. And also, I need to be honest and say a lot of challenges. It was not easy. Gosh, there was so much that happened throughout my younger years. And in growing up also with my mum, being open to spirit guides, painting, creativity, talking about spirit, astrology, take me to spiritualist churches, speaking and hearing from mediums and psychics, I was open to all of that. And then through my own healing journey, I became more and more curious as I became older. So while I was at university, I studied remedial massage, and then to remedial massage, I went into energy healing, so Reiki, Chinese medicine, and, I did that for myself and then offered it for others. So that was a big part of my journey. And in terms of the intuitive part of that, I always just had a knowing is how I would describe it. I would just know things and feel things, and then I would act on that, and then people would confirm it. So even with my healings, like in what I would help a person with or discuss, it was always aligned. So that was a very, I guess, gentle awakening of intuition. And then I would say where it became much more prevalent was after having children.
Oh, yes.
And I remember very distinctly one moment was when I was driving past an area where I used to live and knew a community of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I had information that just dropped in. And the information was quite, I guess, personal, and where the information just dropped in and just made me aware that a family had separated. And I remember that moment thinking, why did I think that? Where did that come from? There were people that I weren't particularly close to, but it just dropped in, and I just sort of let that go. And in my next meeting within that community, that was confirmed. And I was shocked because I
Yeah.
thought, well, I knew this. Why did I know this? And it was something that was very personal, obviously, for that family. So, things like that would happen. Where there's no logical reason for me to know that. There's nothing that I've seen, and it comes true. So those types of things. And then particularly after my father passed, he was very much on my spiritual team, and he very much enjoys communicating with me and sending through messages. And I know for him, and not just through my own experiences, but through readings I've received from other mediums as well, is that, it's how he's also making up for lost time and
Ah,
there to
yes.
guide me and govern me as well. So
Yeah.
very grateful for that.
And
And
how, sorry, just to jump
mm,
in there, when that
yeah.
first happened to you, when your father
Mhm.
came, so I know that you said that you've had spirit guides speaking to you, but when your father actually popped in, I'll say, because
Yes.
that's what they do, they pop in. Um,
Yeah.
how did you find that? How did you react with that?
I really love it. So I really love it. And I have a bit of a giggle actually because of the things that he shows me. So, for example, he loves to show me things with my children. And he'll provide images. So it usually
Yeah.
happens sort of around the 4 a.m. in the morning, where I'll receive very specific images, and it's not dreaming. And I like to clarify, it's not dreaming. It's
Mm,
like that lucid state of
hmm.
before waking. And so he showed me an image of a red car and a young man with sporty kind of sunglasses. And anyway, I said to my son, and I could tell by the image of this young man that it was my eldest son. And I said to him, I said, "Oh, you know, because I talk about these things with my children. I said, oh, Grandpa's made me aware that you may be, speeding or driving a little bit fast. Are you driving faster than what you should?" And he looked at me with his eyes wide open and as if to say, how do you know these things? And, and with a bit of a guilty smile. And I said, oh, well, Grandpa is sharing these things with me. So, yeah, very grateful that then I'm able to have these conversations. Sometimes my children are just maybe not as grateful. Uh,
They're going, Grenda, stop spying on
Yes.
me.
So that's an example of how my lovely dad will
Yeah.
come through and
Oh,
share
nice.
information with me. So
That's
yeah, I'm
lovely.
very grateful for that.
And you mentioned also earlier on that intuition's always been a big part of your life. When did you first realize you experienced the world a little bit differently than, say, others do?
That is difficult for me to pinpoint because I always felt a little bit different.
Mm,
Um, I always felt, thinking back to my childhood, I was always daydreaming. I was a big daydreamer. And I know there's even thoughts about that. And when I look back, I think it was just my way of connecting to spirit, to
yeah.
connecting to something greater than myself, part of my imagination, part of connecting with nature. And
Hmm.
I think it was also very wholesome for me that when, throughout my childhood, when I was going through difficulties, my daydreaming and imagination and connecting with nature and sitting in the garden drawing, flowers. I used to draw the
Yeah.
weeds, the little flowers growing up amongst the
Yes.
grass. I used to sit there and, draw that and that was a really beautiful place for me. So I would say I felt different from there. I
Hmm.
remember my English teacher asking me to go deep in an essay. And I, as a young girl, went down and sat by the river and went deep. And when I handed that back to her, I think she was quite taken back
Ah,
because that's where I just sort of sat there and I just channeled wisdom and my deep
yeah.
thoughts and not, I guess, your typical English type essay. So I always just felt a little bit different in that sense. And yeah,
Was
I
there
think
was
that
there ever a
really,
time where you felt during that phase? Because I know, like, if I reflect on myself as a child, and
mm,
similar to yourself, I didn't have a very great. Well, I mean, you may have had a good upbringing. I was raised in domestic violence, and so I went inwards a lot as a form of, I suppose, looking for that safety and that inner guidance that I wasn't getting externally, and that was the beginning of, I suppose, my relationship with my higher self as such. And then as a child, I was always in that space. And then as I became a teenager, I stepped away from that a little bit more and started getting I would only tap back into that when I felt really stressed. Otherwise, I
mm,
would sort of close myself off from it. And I don't really know why. I'm not quite sure if it was a growing thing. You end up as a teenager, the hormones going nutty, whatever. Not quite sure. But I did disconnect myself for a period of time and then I reconnected again in my late teens, early 20s. Did you have a similar experience?
I did, and I can really relate to that. And particularly, like, you go through those teenage years, and I felt like I did disconnect in those teenage
Hmm.
years and there's those earlier ones. And then went on my healing journey for my health, and then with my children, sort of reconnecting back in, and then the spiritual side coming through, and the intuition, and then sort of really stepping into. So I did a lot of, I guess, physical things, like with my healing, it's very much physical. So it was the massage. I used to be a personal trainer. I did a lot of yoga. So yoga was very much brought me then into that. Actually, yoga had a huge influence on bringing me back and connecting with myself, and that sense of balance. But yoga was still very much a physical thing to me, and doing, all the asanas, and not so much the meditation practice.
Hmm.
And then when sort of stepping more into the spiritual, and the intuitive side, then I've moved more into the meditation. And then often with my meditation, it was up and still out, and still having amazing experiences, but it was more up and out.
Mm,
Whereas now my meditation is profoundly different. It's very much within and
yeah.
going deeper and deeper and deeper within. And I was actually reflecting on all of this prior to us meeting today, and just those golden threads. And where I've come to now is more of that sense of peace within myself, that home within myself, that safety within myself, and that's a place of connection, and it's grounded, it's peaceful, like I was saying beforehand, it's very peaceful, it's soothing. And, it takes a lot of self development, self work, looking in the mirror, understanding the connections of things, the journey that you've been on, making sense of it, and then just sitting with it. And then it's also just allowing it to be.
And it all sounds very easy when we say it like that, doesn't it? But that that personal growth work and that sitting with it, and as you said, the reflection, the looking in the mirror, oof, that can take quite a lot of. Well, it's almost like it's letting go of the past pain, isn't it? To open yourself up to who you truly are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's funny you say that choice piece. And because today, and actually it was many years ago, I made the choice to turn up with a smile. I made the
Fabulous.
choice to smile. And, as you go through on your healing journey, you see it isn't always smiles.
Hmm.
Life is absolutely throws us curveballs. And as we go through the inner work and on our journey, when you're ready and when you're in that place, choose to smile.
It absolutely does change the whole chemistry and energy of yourself, and it puts you in a different mood when you smile as well.
Mm,
Totally. So that's a
absolutely.
fantastic. I think that's a really, really good message to our audience. Is it's as easy as putting a smile on your face to change your state of being.
Yes. And it's not just smiling, it's like choose to smile.
Yes, choose to smile. Correct.
Mm.
Yeah, that's powerful. I like that very much so.
Yeah. I think I might actually write a book and call that the title.
You should.
Yeah.
Totally.
Choose to smile.
Choose to smile. So I want to just tap a little bit more into the, when you basically started back onto your spiritual path and really tapping back into that and learning to trust that. Was there ever a time where you felt, am I going a little bit crazy here? I'm just going to go back to the normal life? Or did you just go, I trust in this. I need to trust my inner guidance. Like, what was that internal dialogue and that type of internal work that you needed to do?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And yes, honestly, there has been times I just thought, oh my goodness, is this real? And like, am I making this up? And what is going on here? And honestly, sometimes what is really just lovely is the community that I have around me
Mm-hmm.
and like-minded, beautiful souls who are on a similar pathway and journey. But it's like, oh, this happens to me. Have you experienced? It's like, yes, this happens to me. It's like, oh, okay. Phew, I'm not the only one. Um, so that definitely is very helpful. And I do really have my own mentors and that I learn from and that have
Mm,
guided me, which also helps to show the pathway as well, that have been in this work for, 20, 30, 40
yeah.
years. So, yeah, so I do find that very helpful also, having those mentors and the truth in it. So I feel like, because people in the early days, they would say to me, I just trust. But trust is something that evolves and it does take
Yeah.
time.
Mm,
And with my work with spirit and what has really helped me in trust is leaning into it. And the biggest thing is, you have someone that comes and sees you and, you don't know them. You know nothing about their history and it could be someone that I'm working with online that lives in America or Japan and then I'm just provided this information and I've got to have the courage to say it because it could be wrong. I,
yeah.
I don't know. Did their great great granddad have a corner store where there was a horse and cart going past? I don't know. I've just got to trust what I've been given. And then and I say
Yeah.
it. And then they'll say, "But I've got a photo here right next to me of that corner store with the horse and cart." And it's just like, wow.
I,
Um,
I I absolutely remember when we had our reading, when you did the reading
mm,
for me, and you described my room. So I'm in Canberra for those people who don't know, and Sonia is in Perth, and it's on the other side of Australia. It takes you at least 2.5 days to drive there from where I am, so it's not like we're in a close
yeah,
vicinity to each other. And you absolutely described my office without because there's a part of my office that no one can see on the screen, which is where my screens
yeah.
are facing and what that looked like. And you described that to a T. And I was just sitting there going, well, I'm not surprised. I'm not, I was a little bit bemused by it, going, good. But what that also did for me was to confirm how connected you actually are, that you're
Mm,
very much so connected into that source energy or that universal consciousness as such, and tapping into that and
mm,
being able to clearly receive the messages, which I think it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
mm.
And then you described my grandmother to me, which again
Ah,
was a perfect. Um, like, she died before I was born, so I was not raised with her by any means, but I always had a picture of her, and I look very similar to her. And again, you described her to a T, and I was going, okay, yes.
um, what's really interesting is for each person and how that evidence comes up can vary on what is needed to
Mm,
um, that's right for that person and for that spirit communicator coming through. And also, I want to tap back into that question about when did I know about my intuition
mm,
and because it was such a natural way of living with my mum and in the environment, I would say a lot of things and feel a lot of things without knowing it as something different other than intuition. It actually wasn't until people would respond to something that I said that I would sort of be a bit shocked, like, oh, but doesn't everyone know that? Or doesn't everyone feel that? So for me, being aware of my intuition, it more wasn't until I had that reflection from other people that they'd either be shocked by something that I said, they say, well, how do you know that? And I think, oh, how do I know that? Um, so that sort of intuition awakening wasn't really more until I was really dropped something. And I think, well, how do I know that?
Yeah.
And then so I wanted to cover on that. Then when you're talking about, those readings, it can show up different in different ways with different people. So sometimes I will get this remote viewing where it's like, that description and or, the spirit communicator comes
Yep.
through and shows different things. I was remembering one particular reading, a lady who came to see me was asking about, really wanted to have love in her life and how that showed up with mediumship as her grandparents came through. Gorgeous grandma and granddad had a beautiful relationship, very, very, very close. And they were talking all about that. There was to give that encouragement and that hope and that faith that she would have that within her life and to really feel into the kind of love that you'd want to have, that enduring, genuine, beautiful love. And that's part of that manifestation piece also, as opposed to thinking about this type of person on, that sort of thing. And the other way it can show up as well is with Mother's Day just having been. My husband said to me, he said, oh, I'd love for you to pull a card. And I had done a meditation earlier that morning and I'd already felt his mum and I hadn't mentioned it. And I said, oh, sure, I'll pull a card. So I pulled a card. Actually, I pulled a few cards and I started reading the first card and straight away his mum came forward. The card reading stopped but of course, I know my husband and the memories. And so I said to her, so look, can you please show me something that I don't know, that only he knows? Because
Mm.
even there's my husband, I still want to give evidence that she is actually the spirit communicator that I'm
Yeah.
talking to. So it was really funny. She showed stories of when he was little and he was a bit cheeky and she'd be trying to grab him by his, shirt to give him a bit of a, tap on the bum and he'd tuck his bum underneath. And, I never knew that. And he had a bit of a laugh and then she would call him a certain name because I keep saying this. Why do I keep saying this? And he goes, oh, only my mum called me that.
Ah.
So it's interesting, like, you're saying like for you doing the reading, it's like that remote viewing and then your grandma
Yep.
coming through and then description. And it can be slightly different with each person on how that evidence comes through in terms of what you need as that evidence for that confirmation, how the spirit communicator, how your grandma wants to
Yep.
talk or your mum or, your dad and what really resonates and what you will remember and connect with.
Oh, totally. And
Yeah.
I've got two questions, but the
Mm.
first one is, how do you distinguish the difference between your own inner voice and that's coming from spirit or universal consciousness, like infinite source? How do you distinguish it? Does it
That
come
is a
from a particular
very,
side, or like I know for some mediums
yeah.
they get it from different sides, and it can be some of them say it's their own voice. But anyway, I'll leave that to you rather than me putting that on
Yes.
you.
Well, I'll talk about so for me, how I feel spirit is I will feel the energy. So I'm very sensitive to energy, so I will feel it. I will feel it like I call them the spiritual bumps. So a bit
Ah,
like goosebumps, but not good. Like, when you get goosebumps, you get those tingles, but then you
yeah.
get the actual physical bumps. So it's probably much softer, subtler, and gentler. So I will feel that. I'll feel that closeness of energy. So and then I'll sort of connect more with that and ask for the blend and invite that blend. And then I will start that communication piece with the person that I'm working with. And I like to start talking because then that makes that connection much stronger
Hmm.
and give the information that I'm receiving. So from that, I'll say, okay, this spirit loves to show me their hair. So I'll say, I've got a lady here. She feels motherly. She feels like more like a grandma. She's got grey hair. It's about shoulder length. It's got a wave. And we'll check with the person that this is making sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will come in stronger. And then they'll show me images. So that is where I'll feel that mediumship, where I know that connection is coming from spirit, and I'm receiving the information and then channeling that through. Um, and it's really something important for me and for mediums to keep pure to that,
Yeah.
and to put our own thinking on it, or tangent on it. So, I remember distinctly doing a reading, and I was given an image of an octopus. Octopus can mean so many things. Like, did you have octopus for dinner? Do you have a fish tank with an octopus? Did you go fishing and catch an octopus? Did you see an octopus on the rocks, And so I was given an image of an octopus. And so being really pure to that, I shared, it's like, I'm being shown an octopus here. And, I feel that this is very significant for you. And the person confirmed, we called our pool cleaner octopus.
There we go.
So, when you're talking there about what is for my own voice compared to what spirit is sharing, to keep that purity in the message. And, as meetings are not always perfect, sometimes there might be some misinterpretation. So when we're receiving that message, it is that it's like, okay, I'm receiving this, I want to clarify that with you, or am I giving this the right way? Because also it can be symbolic.
Yeah.
So spirit likes to
Absolutely.
and you're talking there for and how you see the messages as mediums. So and this is so important. All mediums are psychic. So psychic is like that, you're clear. It's like you might have that clear
Yeah.
seeing, clear hearing. You connect with a person's energy, or some say with their aura. Might talk about what's going on in their life at the moment. And that's more that psychic in terms of perceiving. So perceiving someone's energy and reading into that. And then the next step is like that mediumship piece is actually then connecting with spirit and then receiving that information and then using those psychic senses, all those clairs. So you clear seeing, you clear hearing, you clear knowing, all those things to then, give that message.
Fabulous. And did you
Mm.
actually train in this as well, or was it something that I know that you said that you had a lot of guides come to you, like spirit guides, when you were younger, but to develop your skills, how did you go about doing that?
Absolutely. I have invested a lot in training. Um, I am an avid learner. I love learning, and I like to, for me, the physical experience is really important, but I really do like to learn from also well-experienced people as well,
Mm,
and to really know what I am doing, because I guess I really take a great deal of responsibility in the work that I do,
yeah.
and really honor other people's journeys, and am very sensitive to that, whether it's, energy work, or, the psychic mediumship work. It's all energy work and healing work. So I started with a couple of like little courses here and there. Actually, where I first started, I got to go into, I bought my very first inner child, it's on my desk here actually, inner child tarot cards in my
Right.
early 20s. Love them. It's my favorite deck. Anyway, and I've collected all these decks over the years. And I did this free course through Hay House, which I
Hmm.
love Hay House, Louise Hay, and it was on, tarot reading, oracle reading. And in that free course, I went and gathered all my decks, and I had this huge pile of decks. I just went, oh, that's interesting. And so then I did my certification through tarot reading and oracle reading. Amazing teachers, Carl Gray,
Yeah.
Radley Valentine, Colette Baron Reed. So really amazing teachers. So I did my certification through there. Um, and got all my papers. And as soon as I got that, I took the leap of faith and walked into this gorgeous little shop in Fremantle, the Heart Studio,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm still there today, and said, I've just got my tarot card and oracle qualifications. I'd really love to do readings. Would you have someone available, or would you have some space available? And they said, yes, on Sundays. I said, Sundays would be perfect. When can I start? This Sunday. And that,
That
so I've
fast.
been there for several years now. So that was my first step. And I'm very much an action person. I will
Yeah.
experience something. So for me, what happens, I experience something and I go, oh, what was that? I go and learn about it, go, oh, that's really, yeah, okay, yes, I understand this now. Now I know what's happening to me and that there's other people like this and
Yep.
there's more of a journey and a pathway. And then I do it. So I'm very
Fabulous.
much an action-oriented person. Um, and so that, and then, with the mediumship piece, and yeah, my father's passing was a big, I guess, motivator. And I just really felt that honoring of the spirit world, when him passing
Yeah.
and really honoring this space. And then with the mediumship piece, yeah, I did really want to learn more about that. So I have had mentors here in Perth, which is very much more of a practice group, but I just really wanted to learn more. So that led me to studying with James Van Prague in America.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, and he's a renowned international
Mm.
medium. I studied level 1 and level 2 medium, so I'm a certified medium through his school.
Mm-hmm.
And what I loved about his teaching is it was very much, I could do it online, which works well for me with the family. And he also, we met with him and we could have conversations and talk to him about our experiences. And so it was very much online, our personal experiences, and then coming together and talking through it and getting that guidance and that mentoring piece. And also developing practice circles. And it's very
Yeah.
much, it's, you can only learn so much and you need to do it. You
Put
need
into
to
the
practice
practice.
it.
Yep.
You need to put it in practice. And he just has such a joyful way in how he works with mediumship. And I loved the joy that he brought into it because, there's a lot of sad stories that obviously comes through the
Mm.
mediumship. There's a lot of healing. There can be a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of challenges that people go through. So to really bring also the joy into it and the light into it, for me was really important because
Mm.
it's, part of that healing as well. So I really honored the way that he taught and it made sense. It was very grounded. And so studying through him then actually led to me mentoring. I've just finished mentoring the level 2 mediumship students of this cohort 25, 26.
That's
And
brilliant.
kind of and then
Yeah.
catapulted me into running my own practice circles. And I love that because I help to encourage other mediums and for them to practice and to really have an open heart
Yeah.
with their work and to really embrace it.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so that's
amazing. I love that story.
yeah, and I've got I love learning from others and teachers. I've been leaning a lot into Tony Stockwell's work lately.
Okay.
He's a very expansive, I call him an expansive, innovative psychic medium, quite profound, very well known, and really. I would say exploring the boundaries and like really expansive and extending the boundaries because we can learn
Mm.
so much from the spirit world.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying some of his work. Mm,
Fantastic. And
yeah.
I just love the fact that you totally trusted your guidance and you followed that path. I'm sure there would have been, I mean, you mentioned earlier on about times going, oh my gosh, is this real? But obviously you hit a point where you just went, I'm just going to let go and just walk
Yes.
this path. So that is just
Yeah.
fabulous that you've trusted that.
And, I want to tap into something there too about that
Yes.
trust. And because sometimes people will be fearful on this
Mm,
path and what
mm,
they're connecting with and, all about that. So, for me, I guess in my early days, yeah, very much on, cloak of protection and white
yeah.
light and all those sort of things. Um, when you're working from a place of love and a place of light and a place of joy, when you don't hold that space of fear, you are then protected.
Yep.
If there's ever been a moment where I don't feel comfortable with who I'm connecting with, and that doesn't matter whether it's in the spiritual world or this
Oh,
world,
yes.
then I walk away from that. And how I kind of describe it is if you're walking down a street, you just feel that energy, right? Something feels
Mm,
right and sort of people come past and not say, does that feel right? Does that not feel right for you? So, maybe it does not feel right. So you may not say hello and engage in conversation with every person that you walk past. So it's a bit like that in the spirit world in that I work from a place of love and light. So there is no
yes.
place for anything else other than
Yes.
that. And then if there's anything that I'm not comfortable with or that doesn't resonate, then it's not something that I would sort of step into or connect with or have that conversation with. So,
Mm.
and so I think that's really important messaging in how we operate just even on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, totally. And I'd also like to add to that that when you are coming from that place of love and light, you don't attract that to you anyway. It's repelled. So
Hmm.
that's my experience. Anyway, I
Yes.
find that your frequency is very different, and things that are what you may refer to as nasty or people who are not very pleasant, they're at a lower frequency. They're not actually going to be attracted to you. They're going to walk
Yeah.
away, or they're not going to
Yeah.
come to you if we're talking about from a spiritual perspective. So yeah, because I know I've had um, similar experiences when I was. It's probably when I go back to being a teenager and a late teenager
Mm.
when I had pushed aside that connection that I had, but I was reconnecting back in and obviously opening up on a very natural level. And I was attracting different things. And I learned very quickly that to go, oh, I need to shield. But these days, I come from a very different place. And it's similar to what you were saying. It's that love and light. I come from a pure love position. And therefore, um, my message or the frequency that I'm at is just not going to attract those things anymore. And that's
Mm.
happened to me not through well, actually, I'm going to rewind there a little bit. If we go back to the psychic mediumship, do you believe that this is something that uh, everyone has the ability to do? Or do you think it's just a small
Mm.
few who actually have it?
I feel that everyone has the ability
Mm,
to do this, and everyone has their own senses. Everyone, you know, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say everyone has their senses. So of, seeing, hearing, feeling, it's really that level of awareness
yeah,
and a level of then the sensitivity within that. So it's like that seeing, like this is that outward seeing, then within our inner seeing. So everyone has these abilities. So it's your own awakening to them,
mm,
your own sensitivity to them, and then your development of them.
absolutely.
So, it just sort of depends on where you are on your journey, but absolutely everyone has that ability. I love running workshops and I've been running quite a few workshops, particularly on, tuning into the senses and just helping people to tune into their senses
Yeah.
and to feel it and to feel the difference. What
mm,
is the difference between writing a shopping list as opposed to feeling into what's right for their body? What does their intuitive side say to them? Tuning into, I love it when we do this in Fremantle actually. We'll tune into what they can hear in the environment, extending that out, and then what they hear within their own higher
mm,
self guidance. So really, and then feeling the subtleness of the difference within that, and those intuitive centers are subtle. They are light. They're often quite fleeting, where it just kind of fleets past, and you think, oh, and you got to like really catch it in the moment and then lean into it. Yeah, so I really love that aspect.
So, because the reason why I asked that is because I've always been a firm believer that everybody has these abilities. I think it's part of our nature, and we've just shut them down. And it's really about understanding how to open them back up. And I do agree with you that a lot of people become fearful of it because they're scared of attracting to them that negative stuff. Hence why I was mentioning what happened to me as a teenager. But that was because I didn't fully know what I was doing, and what's happening to me when I was asleep, I'd get woken up and
Yeah.
and I hear that's quite common. And then I'd learnt very quickly, and I don't know, it must have been again intuitively. I just knew very quickly that I had to shield myself and things like that, and I started doing that. And then over time, through my own studies, because I personally have not had any training in the space. It's just something that I have naturally guided myself through. And because I meditate a lot as well, I get a lot of messages through meditation. And I'm very clear as to what I share and what I don't share. But that's,
Mm.
I feel as if some of us are called to do that sharing, like in your case, and others, it's a part of guidance for you in your life. And it really depends on what path you're walking along, I suppose. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. Um, and yeah, I'd be interested, how how that makes you feel, like, because I know for myself it's very fulfilling, and it
Mm,
is that very much of, um, it's really connecting with yourself and your higher self,
mm,
and trusting within yourself, and trusting within, I guess, that greater part, how do I say this? The greatness that surrounds us. And what I feel is that sense of connectivity,
yeah,
and get a taste of what it really means to be connected as a whole and to be one. That's what I'm finding so profound. It's one thing to
yes.
say it, but then to start to feel it and start to realize how connected we all are. And then I sometimes feel it's like, is this all just sitting in the ether? And it's
Oh,
like how we
yes.
just connect into the ether. I really find it quite profound, and particularly with actually the energy healing, and doing online energy healing, and doing
Mm,
that with people who are in another country, and how it literally is like you're in the room energetically working with someone, or they're in the room with you working on you. It's like you really get that profound sense of we are all connected, and
totally.
oh, yeah,
Yeah, totally.
incredible, incredible.
The reason why I'm smiling is because that's exactly how I feel when I connect to source, and like my vision, how I describe it is I imagine it's like I see blue waves. It's just like lots and lots of consciousness waves, whatever you want to refer to it as. But even if you were thinking of a computer, like if they're technologists and you think of the ones and zeros and in the ether, what that looks like, and that's what you're actually tapping into. And that's what we all are. We're just a manifestation of that, an expression of that in this life. And and that's how I see it, is from a healing perspective, you can tap back, like it's almost like going back into that source of who you are, that
Yeah.
light or energy of who you are. And then that is projected into the essence of this sea of consciousness. And we are all a part of that, which is why, from a remote perspective, I mean, again, this is my idea. From a remote perspective, that is why you can do remote healing, because we're all part of that. And you're not actually healing the person, you're healing the energy or the consciousness of that person. And
Yes.
that's what it actually is. And that's my understanding of it. And that's what I tap into. And when you tap into that, all you feel is pure love. That's all you
Yes.
feel. And it just radiates your entire being, and that's who you
Mm.
truly are. So when you are working from that place, there is only safety and security. There is only
Yes.
love. There is no fear. There's none of that. And I kind of look at the alchemists of old. Really, were all about mental alchemy. People got confused with material alchemy and turning, like what? copper into gold and things like that. It was actually really about a change of mindset, of changing,
Mm,
understanding who you truly are intellectually, mind, body, soul, that you are part of this higher source, and then live your life from that perspective. However, we're in this physical form and we put up a veil and just connect ourselves quite regularly. And some of us too often. And I think that's, that building that self relationship is so important, because that is what helps you reconnect. It helps you really
mm,
understand who you truly are at the core. And that takes a lot of work. It's not something that happens overnight. I mean, if I look at it myself, this has been 35 years of constantly visiting this knowledge and tapping into it and learning and growing and crying and letting go and all of those types of things. And then, thinking that I'm not enough, and am I going crazy, and, all of these types of things. And then realizing that no, it's just accepting and allowing. And you've got the two voices, you've got the ego personality who wants to control and hold. And then there's your higher self, which is that softer voice that's not trying to control you. And trying to distinguish between the two at first can be quite difficult. So, I mean, that's been my experience. So, yes,
you said
there we
that so
go.
beautifully. I resonate with all of that. You've just said that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I do. See, for me, it's sharing this knowledge or wisdom as such, I feel, is what I'm here to do. And it's taken me a long time to accept that and open up to that, and not be caught up in the uh, what would other people think scenario, and just really following my calling, my truth, and what my heart is saying to do. So, and since doing that and stepping into that, uh, I have had nothing but uh, support and love
Mm.
projected back at me. So it's, yeah, quite
And
fascinating.
it takes a lot of courage. It takes time. It takes a lot of courage. Yeah, I really honor that, and I feel that, and yeah, and I feel that within myself as well. You're saying a couple of things there about, mindset, and it just brought me to say I'm currently studying my Masters of Leadership, and I'm
Oh, yes.
almost finished. That's why I've been so busy. I'm almost finished, and so a lot of my study so far has been very much corporate type leadership, and I'm getting towards the end now, and I'm writing a research plan, um, and with my research plan, I'm actually looking at spiritual advisory within the corporate world,
Wow.
because I have, a corporate professional
Yes.
background, and
And
I
so
still
do
work
I.
in the corporate world, yes, and it's like, I'm looking back in history and how spiritual advisors were used in ancient times and civilizations, and there's still that counsel that's taken, with religious figures in this modern world. And then that led me to like, well, what about spiritual counsel within the corporate world? I mean, I know that they have psychology support, and there's, support programs for employees and that type things. But what about spiritual counsel? And then if I think
Yeah.
about the schools, they have chaplains for students to consult in, and so that's what I'm currently writing my research plan on, which
Fantastic.
it's all starting to align. Well, it is aligning, which is really great, and taking me that path. And yeah, because I still work in the corporate world,
Yeah.
and I love my role. And it's interesting how it's been evolving over time, because I'm actually a business transformation person within the
Are
corporate
you?
world.
So
And
change,
yeah,
so change transformation?
change,
Yeah, okay.
transformation. And when
Yep,
you're talking about mindset,
yep.
when you talk about, change an organization, it's just not just processes and systems.
No,
It's all
it's
about
not.
people. And for it to happen with people, it's about
Absolutely.
mindset. And so I see my role in that space is how very aligned. how facilitate change, how working with mindsets, and very much in connection and getting that connection with people, and for their own, I guess, personal inquiry for themselves first, because that's what first makes the difference,
Yes.
and that connectivity piece. So, and also then the higher purpose, like what's the purpose behind things? I think how that's evolving for me is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
For me, I don't have a set exactly how that's going to look in my own true space. I'm allowing that to naturally unfold. And I'm actually very excited in how it is currently unfolding. So I'm sort of seeing the direction it's going. It's like, ooh, this is exciting.
That is
um,
exciting because,
and yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was just going to say, because, you know, the corporate world, that's one of the areas that's really missing, is that spiritual connection. And a lot of them would go, oh, we don't need that. That's rubbish. It's woo woo. You know, it's all of that type of thing. But it's not when you're looking at it from the point of view of relationships, communication, even strategy to a point. How are you aligning that to your values, you know, et cetera, et cetera? It
Oh,
just,
yes.
it is all connected. But, you know, and that's why I think sometimes the corporations can be broken because they're not tapping into that, even though a lot of CEOs or even coups do actually go for spiritual counseling
Yes.
and
There's a
guidance.
lot
So
of spiritual
there
people in the corporate world.
is, and it's just fascinating how we don't openly talk about that,
Mm.
but it's there. And I think if we were to bring that back in, what a change that would make. It would be a huge change.
And that's what some of these inquiries of my research is. Are people, open to exploring that in the corporate
Mm,
space? Would they be open to seeking, the spiritual advisory work and talking about it in the corporate environment and feeling safe to do that? It's really interesting. Because I just naturally connect with other spiritual people in the corporate world, and I think, what am I drawn to that person? We start talking, it's like, oh yes,
now you know.
I know why. They're also a Reiki and
Yep.
or a spiritualist, or
Yeah.
so you sort of just naturally gravitate.
Well, yeah, we've
But
all got to make a
that's
living, don't we? So, and it's an easy place to make a living in the corporate world, even though there's another part of you pulling you in another direction. So it's quite fascinating. It is.
yeah, yeah.
I just want to rewind the conversation a little bit, which was around when when you had started that mediumship training and
Mm.
also tapping into your intuitive guidance more, etc. And you've kind of mentioned a little bit about how important that is to personal growth. How have you found that it's actually shaped you and changed you and opened you up?
It has been one of the most profound and beautiful things for my own um, personal development. And even if I, wasn't offering this to other people or anything else, what it has given me, it has really enriched my life. I feel like with my mediumship journey to be able to deliver a message to other people or receive them, you need to be grounded within yourself.
Mm,
You need to have that sensitivity. So it's really tuned me into, and particularly like you were talking about beforehand, when you have had difficulties in your life, there is that thing of disassociation,
yeah.
and challenges and all that, all that sort of thing. So for me, it's been very healing. It's been very grounding. It's been very connecting within myself. Um, one of the most, I actually another thing, I'm very comfortable with who I am. I'm very accepting with who I am. It's giving me understanding of who I am, and that um in my differences, and everyone is different and everyone is unique in their own way, and I'm
Mm,
just one expression of that, and that is okay.
yep.
It's okay to be me.
Hmm.
Um Yeah, so I really love the self-acceptance that it has given
Yeah.
me. That's been a
Yeah.
real gift. One of the most profound things that I did, and I've been wanting to do it for many, many, many years, was a silent retreat. And
Oh.
I did go on a silent retreat a couple of years ago with a Swami. It was only for 3 days, and I would love to do like a 14-day silent retreat. And in this silent retreat, and I'd done my mediumship training at that point and everything, but it was such with no external, because even on the retreat, we weren't, even that energy of connecting with each other
Mm.
and giving a smile, or you give out so much energy in different ways, even if it's not through talking. So very much coming in our own energy, and I profoundly felt my own spirit. And that was such a golden moment for me. And I remember that distinct thinking of, how can I possibly connect with other people's spirits or spirit without connecting with my own?
So true.
And that was just a golden, golden, golden moment. And I felt my spirit within my body, and then I felt how my spirit would extend outside of my body. And at the end of the retreat, we had the opportunity to ask the Swami questions. And one of my questions was, how did he describe in his learnings and teachings and, experience our spirit and our spirit within our body? And then when we feel our spirit outside of our bodies, and, he talked about how, our body is a house.
Yeah.
Okay. And he did it so simply and just beautifully. He goes, well, our body is a house. We go in our body and we go out of our body. And I was just like, okay.
Okay.
And then, and then the other thing I loved is a question that someone else asked, and it was a beautiful question. It was about, how do we deal with desire? How do we manage
Mm-mm.
desire? I thought, oh, and once again, so simply he said, goes, well, think of it like this. You've had a big meal, your favorite meal, and you've eaten so much that you are full as can be. And there is just no room for anything else. So if someone was to offer you then your favorite thing, your favorite chocolate or whatever, you just couldn't possibly have it. That was such a golden moment as well, because for me, that was like, when you are full and you are content within yourself, and when you haven't got that need or that desire,
Mm.
it keeps your energy clean and pure. It keeps your intentions clean and pure. It's that sense of that self-fulfillment, that you're not needing anything else, whether it's, I don't know, validation, confirmation, recognition,
Yeah.
love. Have that love for yourself, so that when it does come for you, it's a gift. It's it's a value add. It's,
Yeah.
so there's so many meanings that you can take from that. And even coming back to that, like different people and energies. If you don't need anything, if you're full, if you've had that fulfilling meal, it keeps your energy pure. It keeps your intentions pure. And it's that sense. So for me, that connection with my own spirituality and how mediumship has really connected that within myself, and honored that part of myself, is, I feel full. I feel content. Um, and feel more at peace, feel more at myself. My life isn't perfect.
Yep.
I'm not perfect. Not by any means. My God, I've got young adults, teenagers and life. But you know what that offers me when I sort of get all those different still life experiences, it's all part of my experience, and I can look at it differently and
Yeah.
more objectively and lovingly, and go, okay, well, yeah. So
So it's a choice
that's
of responding over
a
reacting.
choice of responding as
Yeah.
opposed to reacting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I liked
Yes.
what you said before as well, that when you have that internal fullness because you are connected with that relationship with self, and it's such a loving, deep, profound relationship, that anything that you actually receive outside of that is a value add.
Mm.
And I think that's so powerful, because it is. It means you don't need to go searching for these things. these things will come for you in right timing. And when they do, it's exactly that. It's a value add.
And what I love, the beauty in that is that it happens in day-to-day life.
Hmm.
So many small moments. And I can think of, I might be in conversation with someone and, they're going through a really difficult period, and I can sit there and sit with them and be in that space, not be personally affected by it, but hold space with that person. And it's a beautiful place to be. As opposed to then on the other side of like being drawn to, yesterday I was drawn to the most beautiful flower. I'm gonna have to put on my socials. I was drawn to the most gorgeous yellow flower. And then as I was drawn to it, it was covered in bees.
Oh.
Just, of this, and I thought, wow, I was drawn to this flower, like, the bees were drawn to this
Yeah, yeah,
nectar of the flower. And then I was standing in this gorgeous garden taking photos and looking at the sunlight. And so just, it can be the most simplest, most beautiful moments with people, with nature. Yeah.
yeah. Totally, totally surrounded by abundance. Love it.
Mm,
Yeah, just kind of think, oh, next question.
yeah.
So how would you actually like if there was someone who was really quite blocked within themselves,
Mm.
um, and they were blocked from what they perceive from hearing their inner guidance and trusting their intuition, what would be your advice to them?
Yes, that is a very good question. Um, and there's a couple of things I want to say here. So, when you come to a reading and you're looking for, guidance and insight, your reading will be as deep and as rich as what you are open and willing to receive.
Ah, okay, yes,
So, when people come to me and their arms are crossed, like they want to, but I'm not sure of how much they want to, or if it's more of just a curiosity. But if the arms are crossed and there's lots of questioning, it's you can give as much as you can, but then you can see it's only going to go so far.
yeah,
As opposed to when people come and they are open and there's dialogue, and particularly when there's a three-way dialogue between the person that comes to see me, myself, and the spirit communicator, amazing. The richness and the depth and the information is expansive. And so when those situations, come and, you know, whether it's a person sort of ready to accept that next step or to go, I love it when the cards are there as well. And I'm thinking of something in particular. And the cards are always so true. It sort of always, gives a picture there. And it's not even just me sort of saying from spirit or whatever, but the cards will even show it. And,
yeah.
it's amazing how it'll be like, they'll be like, meditate. Don't hate, meditate. And, so it'll have these things and it's like, very obvious. And I'll sort of offers like, well, first step is working upon yourself. And I will help breaking it down for them because if I go too far into etherical or, to whatever direction, it needs to be something that they can receive and take away and
Mm,
make that first step. It's not for me to judge where they are on their journey
yeah,
and what they choose to do with information or what they choose to do in their life. Everyone is in control of their own life and their own choice. And that's really important part of, the work that I do, that
yeah,
everyone, is in charge of their own life and decisions that they make. So if there's that suggestion there of, it could be really helpful for you to spend some time in meditation and reconnecting back with yourself and just rebalancing. So, for example, if someone's just been through a relationship split and they're going through a lot of that pain,
mm,
just naturally, it's not a good time to sort of be making lots of decisions or trying to either jump back into a relationship or
yeah,
another relationship. You've got to,
totally.
you got to sit with where you're at.
Yeah,
And often enough, the cards will just show up in that space just naturally, and the guidance will come through in that space. And so it's helping that person to acknowledge it in that first step. and having that dialogue with them as well. Because as much as, you know, with the cards, I'll say to me, and I'll even say, what do you feel? Because often people do know, like you say, everyone has it, they do know. And it's like, well, yes, I have been feeling this. And yes, I am aware of that. And so it helps them to acknowledge. And so for them to actually then have that self awareness and that acknowledgement, then you hope that, okay, maybe then that afternoon or the next day or the next week, they will sit down and have that quiet time. And what meditation might look like for them, it could look different for different people. So it's making that offering and that guidance that they may then choose to take.
So contemplating on what the message was and taking that in. Yeah,
Mm.
that's really good. I like that. And do you believe that everyone has a unique pathway?
Oh, we all come. What's interesting is we are all so different and we all think so
Hmm.
differently. And as you get to know people, you think, wow, that's what you think. Why do you think that? And it can be cultures
Yeah.
and
Oh, yes.
upbringing and
Yeah.
life experiences
And
and,
belief systems and yeah.
belief systems. And
Yeah.
that's why, you know, I also studied inherited release method from an amazing lady here actually in Perth. And she teaches all around the world because it's all about that, releasing all those
Mm.
inherited beliefs and traumas and those sort of things. It's an important aspect. Um, what was your question? I just
It
lost
was
that. I
does
just
every
lost.
that's all right. Does everyone have a unique, I suppose, a unique
Oh,
soul
pathway.
pathway? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to that is, oh, so much to say on that. Um, so we all have these different experiences and wherever they've come from, cultural upbringing, inherited, all those sort of things, and then our soul journey. Um, and our life experiences take us on our own unique path. So I do feel that there is that uniqueness to our own pathway and how it unfolds.
Mm,
At the core of that, I'm still going back to the soul source.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I still really love that, honoring that light within ourselves and honoring that light in other people. And that word namaste in yoga, namaste, I
yeah.
honor the
Namaste.
light.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yes, we have our own unique pathways and journeys. We are still soul and spirit and that energy within ourselves that connects to everything else.
beautiful.
Mm.
Nicely said. Just like to add on to that,
Mm.
I envisage it like a rose bush, for instance, and every person is a rose on the end of the bush. And that rose is actually an individual on itself, and it's beautiful and a self expression, but it's actually connected when you go back to the bush. It's all connected and it's connected back to the root. And the root is, as we were saying, the soul, the seed, whichever. And the experience of that rose is sending the experience back into the bush for
Mm.
further knowledge
Mm.
and wisdom. And that's
I
how
love that.
I like to see it. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, and that contributing. So actually, this is just, you know, very much came from my yoga teachings as well. Is remember the teacher that I had, amazing lady, say practicing yoga was never a selfish practice because the practice is actually contributing to the world. It's like as
Yeah.
we're improving of the eight limbs, you know, and how we think and be and behave, and not just the postures, improve our eating and what we choose in our life. And so it contributes to the whole. And it's the same with the, you know, the spiritual practice and how you're contributing to community just by improving upon yourself and the people that
Mm,
you interact with. And you're sort of giving that back to the source, like what you said in the
yeah.
analogy of the rose bush.
Yeah. I like that.
Hmm. That's
It's
beautiful.
quite cool. It is beautiful. And I think that's probably, I suppose from today, that's really the clear message, isn't it? It's about always going back to that, to source energy and understanding that you are it. There's no separation because in our uh, material body, for instance, we feel separated because we are controlled by the senses and we feel very separated and we get caught up in ego personality as well of trying to outdo everybody else or competition or validation and all of those types of things. And that again puts up a veil. And I almost like to see it that that veil is like a curtain that you can pull back, but you've got to do the work to pull back that
Yes.
curtain, to realizing it comes back to that, Paramahansa Yogananda, self-realization. It's all about coming back to self-realization. It's really message. And I know earlier on in the conversation, we were speaking a little bit about doing a little bit of a card reading for myself. So you said you had a card that you wanted to present to me as well.
Yes. Well, the first card, prior to your card, the first card that came up before today was I'd chosen a card about today's session on the whole, and it was Archangel Uriel, which is all about shining your light. And now, in reflection of having pulled this card in the beginning in our conversations, I've just felt so much light has been part of our conversation of me honoring my light and also
Mm,
you honoring yours.
yes.
And I feel like even the light transmission in terms of what we've created and given to the universe is part of our conversation today. And for people that listen to this as well, that it's uplifting for them and joyful for
Mm,
them and gives them um, I feel like it might even give them a feeling of excitement and bubbling possibility within themselves. So I
yeah,
hope that that is something that
absolutely.
that gives the listeners. But yeah, let's pull an angel card for you. So I was going to pull one beforehand. I thought, no, I'm going to shuffle the cards during the session. And I'm often, this is how I am guided with my readings. They just tell me when to stop.
Stop.
The one that comes up is always meant to. Oh my gosh. I love that.
That's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And isn't it funny, right, that we were just talking
Oh,
about yoga?
yes, yes, absolutely.
And I feel I don't know what your history is with yoga, but I feel like you have got this connection to yoga. But very much, this card here, just looking at the card itself, it's about that divine father. And thank you for co-creating my world with me. And so much of our conversation today and what inspires you and both of us is, that connection to the whole, the connection to the
Mm,
divine, being part of something greater, that it's not just us that's creating, like we are very a small part
yeah.
of it all, and we're part of something much greater and much grander and much bigger. And when we think that we have got control and and we do have choices and that sort of thing. But when we do think we've got it all mapped out and control, life does show us our own unique pathway and our
It
own
certainly
unique
does.
journey. And life has shown that for yourself, where the light has guided you. And actually, as I'm talking to you, I'm guided to the light that's actually sitting behind you.
Hmm.
And light, I feel for you, has been like a savior. It has been your lantern through your journey and where you have journeyed. And I'm being
Mm,
shown, many passageways that you've been for yourself. And this is a message not just for you, but for everyone, is to be guided by the light. And no matter where
absolutely.
you are, what place you are at within yourself, within your environment, is your light is what is most important. So keep your light. Your light is sacred. Your energy is sacred. You need to look after your energy in whatever it is that you do. And particularly, Yvette, in the work that you do, looking after your energy and your light is sacred, because that is what
Yes,
enables you and fuels you to do this work and to,
absolutely.
for the expansion of yourself and for others and to give out into the world. So, mm, and that groundedness as well, and coming back to connecting in with nature. And I just want to say, just got to keeping yourself fueled by connecting into nature and receiving the energy from nature. So going out into the garden, putting your feet on the grass and just feeling that fill your soul, because that will also help to replenish you. And that's available to anyone if if you are needing to replenish yourself, being out in nature and just feel like invite and thank Mother Earth for what she provides and feel her energy come within you, because it can be very fulfilling and healing.
Absolutely. Well, thank
But
you.
yes, yeah.
Heartfelt.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful reading. That's lovely.
Welcome.
And it's quite profound because I connect directly to source when I meditate, and some days not so successfully, and other days totally. And
Mm.
it is the thing that drives me, and the sharing the wisdom that I receive is, as I said earlier on, is why I'm here. So, and it's taken me a long time to accept that it's okay to, share your voice. And in fact, you need to share your voice because it's about allowing the light through. So
Voice is very activating. Thank you.
it
Thank you for sharing
is.
your light and sharing your voice for all of us.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Now, where can people actually find you and learn more about your work?
All right. So I do have a website, www.angelicpathway.com. I am on social media, so Facebook and Instagram. So that's Angelic full stop Pathway. And I run workshops. My workshops of recent times have been in person, and I will be making more workshops available online.
Oh, fabulous.
So it's more accessible for people who live further afar. I do run practice circles for developing mediums and also professional medium practitioners, where it's a safe space for like-minded people to practice our abilities and to keep refining them, because it is a constant refinement.
Mm,
And also, like this saying beforehand, it's just like, sharing our different experiences.
yeah,
So I'm really loving that community. So that's me. So people are very
fabulous.
welcome to reach out.
Fabulous. I'll have all of your links down below in the description as well. So please feel free to connect there via those links. And I'd just like to say to our audience that if there is anything that you've gotten from today, please feel free to comment below. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear if you had any ahas, or even if you just want to reach out and get a little bit more clarity on certain things, please feel free to touch base with us. And on another note, remember to always think beautifully and live brilliantly. And until next time, bye. That's it.
Bye.
We'd like to say a huge thank you to our incredible audience for your continued support. Our mission is to ignite your spark, empowering you to be a beacon of light for others. We'd love to hear from you. So if you've got any questions that you would like answered in future episodes, or just want to share some insights, connect with us on our Facebook community page. If you're looking for additional resources, go to our website. You'll find the link below. And remember, the absolute best way to help us grow is to share this episode with your friends and family, and to subscribe to the Art of Beautiful Thinking podcast. So until next time, think beautifully and live brilliantly.